investigating a lost battlefield here in Massachusetts. The battle site of Wheeler's Surprise. Steve's on navigation. We're heading into West Brookfield. This entire area is crossed by beaver flows, small rivers and streams, lots of swamps, and it was a perfect area for the Amerindian people to build their stockaded villages. Should I take her right here?
Straight.
Quaboag Plantation, founded by Jedediah Foster. Ooh, we have an officer of the law up here. Massachusetts has a hands-free rule in effect. This road, which might have been used by the Wheeler train band on his trip up to Minnesota. As we move along this road, we have to think. We're looking for a battle site that is deeply disputed by various historians. Wheeler, commanding a trained band of mounted militia, were moving north and west of Brookfield toward Minnesota to determine the intention of Muddawump and the Nipmucks, who lived in 3 villages along the Ware River. These villages were home to hundreds of Nipmuck, and with Metacom launching what will be called for hundreds of years the Red King's Rebellion just a month earlier in the southeastern part of Massachusetts, the intention of these Nipmucks was really important to the General Court of the state of Massachusetts. They had dispatched Ephraim Curtis 2 times previous to find out what the Nipmuck were intending to do. Were they going to side with Philip, or were they going to remain neutral? And Curtis had met with a surly response from the village sachems. It is that purpose, the purpose of determining the intention of the Nipmucks, that leads Wheeler, his cohort Captain Hutchinson, and our good friend Ephraim Curtis to head to Minnesota. The journey would take them up the east side of Wickabog Pond and then along a series of brooks, streams, beaver flows, and through swamps and between rocky hillsides, an area that's today heavily wooded that at the time was more field than forest, with settlers describing their ability to see their cattle more than a mile away from their homestead at Quaboag Plantation. As they marched, they came to a rocky defile between a swamp and a rocky hillside. They walked right into an ambush. Now, their Natick Indian guides had told them that something was up in front of them, but they had disregarded. And Nipmuck hopped up out of the heavy marsh grass, began firing down on them from the hillside, and closed the road back to Brookfield.
Supposed to rendezvous with Muddawump at approximately 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, I don't think they made the rendezvous. There was a surprise waiting for them, and it's described as there was a narrow path leading between a stone-covered hill, right, through a defile, and on the opposite side of the path, a ravine with a swamp at the bottom. So, with that said, finding the site is not an easy thing to do. In today's world, you know, we have had 300 years of agriculture. We've had state highway divisions out, town highway divisions out, building roads, people developing the land. So it's possible that the site of the battle is forever lost. But I'm typically somebody that doesn't believe that. I believe that they'll ultimately find it because archaeology's come a long way. I think the secret's going to be to find the road, the actual path that was used. But as Alex said when we were driving here, I mean, any area that we drive through could be the site of the massacre, the ambuscade. And approximately 20 members of the train band were killed here. And you can imagine they're armed with matchlocks, some probably pikes.
I was going to say, probably a few pikes in there.
One thing we always say about our farming folk from colonial New England weren't very good shots. First, the matchlock arquebus musket is not really very accurate.
They weren't very efficient with it.
Yes, because they were farmers.
Yeah, they practiced maybe. They didn't have enough powder to like actually practice.
Right. So, and of course, bayonets hadn't been fixed to the rifle yet.
You still had a lot of them had that short sword.
They had a short sword called a hanger, and then there were pikemen that were very common in Europe. And you can imagine somebody with a 12-foot long halberd running around in the woods here, and that's what we're talking about during this time. But the train band of Hutchinson and Wheeler, many of them on horses, are moving toward Minnemesset, and they don't get there. However, they'll get back to Brookfield with warning of the perfidy of the Nipmucks. Alex and I figured. So with black powder smoke swirling in the air on that August morning, the survivors of Wheeler's Surprise, with the help of the 3 Natick Indian guides, made their way back south toward the Quaboag Plantation, now Deerfield. There, they barricaded themselves in the Ayres Garrison House, John Ayres Garrison House. He lay dead somewhere along the site of Wheeler's Surprise. For the next 2 days, that garrison house, which was ostensibly commanded by a badly wounded Wheeler, would be assaulted from all sides by a massive band of Nipmuc warriors from multiple villages in the region. One of those villages is up by the lake that we're going to be fishing next, and it's called Brooks Pond in North Brookfield. No motors allowed, electric motors only, and I'm going to tell you something. It's one of the better bass lakes in the central part of Massachusetts. You don't give them time to think about it. You cast it out and reel it quick, and their fishy reaction is, I see something, I'm going to eat it. And then they feel, as a friend of mine used to say, the Steely Bob. Oh, Steve is throwing the Whopper Plopper, one of his favorite lures lately. He loves that Whopper Plopper. He doesn't care. He doesn't care at all. He doesn't care what people think, what they say. He knows that it's a good time to use the Whopper Plopper because the sky is overcast. The fish are not sunblind right now. They're not going to be tight to cover. It's very shallow here. Makes sense because we're in front of a brook. We're at what they call a delta in the old country. And it stays shallow out to the left, Steve. It's,
old country, you mean Boston?
Yeah, Boston. Would they say delta? How would they say delta, Steve?
I don't know. I've never been good at the Boston accent thing.
Delta?
In Australia, they say delta.
Oh, fires it over there.
Right over with delta. He's fishing for sharks.
A toothy critter, a pickerel, whale in the spinnerbait. He was not to be denied. He's a kind of a plump one too. He's not a wimpy little pickerel. Always beware of the pickerel's teeth. He might feel your steely barb. Don't you feel his nasty, razor sharp teeth. They are razor sharp. I'm burning. Steve is moving quick with his Whopper Plopper. And when I burn it, I like to get it right up to the surface and bulge the water with the blades. Every once in a while, pump it and then stop. Sometimes that'll trigger a strike. And you're fan casting with a spinnerbait, showing your lure to. Now you can fish a spinnerbait all kinds of ways. You can slow roll it. You can, fish the midwater with it. But at this time of the year, I like burning it. And as I've said before, it's a great weedless lure, so you can do all kinds of stuff with it without having to worry that you're going to get compromised by snags. So I'm bringing it through that garbage that Steve had the whopper plopper right near, seeing if I can drag something out of that cover. Nothing. But I am going to go back in tight and do it again. See if I can get something out of the thicker cover. No, that will not happen. Yeah, there's some cool moss on the bottom here. There's a lot of beds. Do you see the old beds? There's old beds everywhere. This as a lake in Massachusetts is great because it's got some deep water and it's got great nursery areas for young fish. I mean, every cove in this lake has got beautiful varieties of weeds, from water hyacinths and assorted lily pads to our cabbage or bass weeds that you find in the deeper water. Really a nice lake. Steve was having his best year. Oh, missed one on the Cinco. One hit it on the sink. That was my fault, like a dope. I should have been... I was turning the camera on the cast, and one had hit it, and I gagged on it. Well, these things happen. When that happens, you just go right back in there. And so you notice I have the Cinco in combination, in tandem with the little crayfish fly. Kind of a double trouble arrangement. So I go right back in where I was, and I'm going to let it drop. Watch my line as the Cinco goes to the bottom. Lift. Well, I had a chance. I gagged. The camera on. How did I catch two, you're saying? Two bass. One on the fly and one on the Cinco. Double. Double. Two bass, you see? That's two. And that's because I have on this one the circle hook with the Cinco, and he's a littler guy. And on this one, I have a little fly. It's a crayfish fly. And there he is. And there he is. And see, the Cinco brings the fly down, and bam. That was something.
Was that your own little invention?
Yeah, this is my own invention. I think that people in bass fishing could learn from other types of fishing. Like, for instance, in Euro nymphing, when we fly fish, we use multiple nymphs. In Massachusetts, you're allowed to use two. So I can use two hooks here, just like I just did. And of course, when you get one, you'll notice many times when you're bass fishing, or fishing for anything, that when you have a fish on, there's another fish chasing, you know, trying to take the lure out of the fish's mouth. And every once in a while, you can catch, if you're using a lure with double trebles, you'll catch two fish on one bait, because it'll, you know, you'll end up with a fish trying to grab the rapala out of the other fish's mouth. Well, knowing that, I created this setup, which works pretty well. I mean, I can catch them on the Cinco on the bottom, and I can catch them on the fly on the top. You have to be a little patient sometimes because they can get caught together, but I don't have that happen that much. It's just it's about presenting it the right way, not jerking it up and down.
So this is how much they love fishing in Minnesota. You travel down any one of the major roads, highways,
Yeah.
they have big billboards advertising fishing lures.
Really?
Yeah, there was one that said, me, you, lake, boom. Rapala.
Wow.
These are a big picture of Rapala. Me, you, lake, boom.
Well, that'll make you a believer out of my presentation, won't it? So wait, Steve does not know how to use the Cinco, so I'm showing him the technique. Now, this is not a brilliant lure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cast it, and it hits the water. I know it sinks maybe half a foot a second, so I'm watching my line as it sinks. You watch that line. Okay. When I'm on the bottom, I'm slack. You see my line go slack? Just like with the jig. Now you just lift and drop. It's wicked simple. And you will feel like a bump sometimes. Sometimes you'll just feel weight. Sometimes they just grab it and run with it. They're crazy with these things sometimes. And there's days when they hit them really well. Like today, probably because it's been so much rain, the Senko's really on fire today. So I will avoid using them quite often because there's better lures. But you know, some people, they work so good that you could, there's one, and it barely hit the water, and this guy, whoever it is, came up and hit it. My drag is, there was no brains here. I casted it, and one hit it, right? He's coming up! Oh! Yes! Action at Brooks Pond on the Senko. Oh, what a feisty beast. Oh, he's digging. Will I get a second one to hit the fly? No, not that lucky today. Not that lucky. There he is on the circle hook. Yeah. And the circle hook I'm using on the Senkos, you notice the circle hook? It's beautiful. Comes right out. Notice that hook? You won't gut hook your fish. Senkos, they will eat sometimes. Now I'm talking to you guys wherever you are. Bass guys rarely ever use a circle hook. Why? I don't know. They're supposed to be about the resource. But we know Senkos are just eaten by these guys. So how about this? Try using circle hooks. Respect the resource that you claim to love so much, right? Certain states have made circle hooks mandatory. Like New York State this year made circle hooks mandatory for striped bass fishing. You're fishing for stripers with a natural bait, so you're using like an eel or using bunker or whatever, you got to use circle hooks now. So spinnerbait. I let that spinnerbait sink a little bit, and then started to reel it, and he responded.
Yeah, it's bigger. You still cranking it?
Yeah. He's on, up in the front of the boat. Oh! Oh, look at him. Look at him. He's got a fighter. Oh! Look at him. He's got his... He's... just as of like 3 weeks ago, he had never caught a fish on a spinnerbait. And now he's been able to slay that dragon. And he's catching fish on spinnerbaits. Hold that thing up now when you want to show the camera. Yeah, look at that. A lovely largemouth bass, Steve. Falling victim to one of the great bass lures ever created, the spinnerbait. Because it's so versatile and it's just a great bait when the fish are reacting. And it's only got one hook, so it should be easy for you to extract that hook, Steve. I know. Officer Price cleaning up. He cleans up the mean streets of West Side. Now he's cleaning up the mean streets of North Brookfield, Massachusetts. Watch out up there. At that point, we know that there's a stream bed that runs through here. It's not really deep. It's about, with the water being up, maybe 10 feet, maybe less. This is a good area for big fish. It's a choke point. Big nursery area behind us. Well, in front of you. Water in there 6 feet deep. A lot of weeds, and the big stream that comes in from the north of the pond meanders through there. Come back and drop it. Circle hook, snout. Yeah, no, he's not a world-beaten, big, huge bass, but, you know, you're not always going to get world-beaten, big, huge bass. You're going to have to fight your way through the little ones to get the big ones sometimes. I'm looking at the surface of the water right now, and you can see these beautiful little waves. And this is really something else when you're throwing a surface lure. It tends to turn them on. So I'm throwing the whopper plopper, and I'm moving it quickly, almost like a buzzer, stopping it every now and then. Reaction lure. It's shallow. It's maybe 6 feet deep, and I'm just going to fan cast this guy and bring it across the top of the water and cover a lot of water and see if I can get an aggressive largemouth bass or chain pickerel to cooperate. Oh, I had a little largemouth bass cooperate there, but I miss him. Whoa. Yeah, I got one right away. He jumped too. It was a sight to see. There we go. On a whopper plopper. He is shocking. He did not expect. Well, I'm just going to play him right in. What kind of a person would do that? Get him off the hook. I want to get him back in the water. He's not a big one, I know that. So I'm getting him in. There we are. Oh, he's been spawning. You can see where he was using that mouth of his on the ground when he was spawning. She was spawning. See that? Right there. All right, well, get back in the water. Double. I got me. Oh, yours got off. Oh, boy. This feisty largemouth hit the spinnerbait like he was supposed to. Not a big one, but he was feisty. Oh! Steve! Crashing. Got that little spinnerbait spoon thing. Oh no, he's got the whopper plopper. Now watch out, that's got treble hooks on it. Don't, just be careful. No, seriously, be careful. Nice. What's the price on the spinnerbait? He's bellying it in. Well, circle hook time. I'm using circle hooks on the Senkos. Yeah. They're working pretty good. Scarlet Tanager? I feel like a scarlet tanager is a mythical bird. They're not even real. I've seen like one in my life. There's a good fish. Maybe not a good fish, but better than I've been getting. No, he's not that much better than I've been getting. Look at what he is. Surprised by the mighty calico bass. The mighty calico bass. That's a good calico.
It is. I haven't seen one of those in a while.
They're a pretty fish. People down south call them crappie. I just call them calico bass. Get back there, boy. Beautiful fish.
Yeah. So what's that make? 4 species for you?
I got a 4-species night going. I need a perch.
Maybe you should start jigging.
I need me to get a perch, boy. Now he hit, and I thought it was a good fish because they're flat, you know, and they turn their head, and you're pulling against all that water. It makes sense that there'd be calicos in this lake. It's got great structure for them.
Yeah.
Usually where there's one, there's more. He hit the fly. Yeah. He hit the fly. He was like, I'm getting that fly. There's one. There's a better fish. Hope it's another calico. He's scooting. Oh! Huh?
I said, how often do you catch calico?
Not that often. I don't target calico, you know?
What do you mean you do? What do you do? Bottom fish for?
Well, yeah, they're structure relating. You know, they relate like bass to structure. This one looks like he also went. No, he's on the circle hook. He went for the crawfish imitation thing there. And he's not that much of a better. But that circle hook's working great. That's what I like. The circle hook's really working. Huh? It's really nice back there. Yeah, he's not that small.
I think he didn't know anything got wrapped in the weeds. That's why he's feeling bigger.
Oh, look at him go. Oh. Oh. I'm the rat.
He's at least 5/8 of a pound.
Well, we could be somewhere where we're getting nothing. Oh, I just had one grabbing it and pulling it. He like had it by the skirt. Oh, there we go. Oh! Getting buzzed by an F-16. Oh, this is a mean one. He's gotten a little bigger. Got it right in the side of the jaw. Not that much bigger. Oh, peep is on. Yes. What do you got? A little bigger? No! Can't get stuck in the weeds. Can't hook a fish either. Dirty bird fish. Oh, he couldn't resist the dirty bird's dirty action. I don't know what this is. Oh, feisty. There's only one hook on the dirty bird. You can pop it right out of the water like so. There he is. And that's the dirty bird. It originally had a skirt on it, but I take the skirt off and put on something rubber.
I like the rubber.
Well, this has a really nice action, though. You got to.
It does. With that rubber on it, looks like a.
Yeah.
It's like something.
Snake or a leaf. No, we really only fished, what, a quarter? Not even. A fifth
Oh yeah, maybe.
of the lake. And I mean, with all these islands, you've got so much shoreline to explore, fishable weed beds, beautiful drop-offs, gravel banks, blowdowns, docks, not a lot of docks, more blowdowns, stream bed.
Weeds.
Yeah, it's a great lake to get out and fish, and when you do, you got to remember that you're fishing a historic place. Very close to Minnemesset, very close to the site of Wheeler's Surprise and the Brookfield Ayres compound that was under siege for 3 days in early August of 1675. And that 350th anniversary is coming soon. Do the math. And beat the bag out of the like and subscribe button.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Be careful.
Be careful.
If you don't like fishing historic places, don't subscribe to this channel. Go someplace else.
Do you want to like and subscribe? Do you want to see more fishing historic places? Because the only way you're going to do it, well, purely random fishing historic places might pop up on YouTube, but if you like and subscribe, you'll be able to see it when the new ones drop.